What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning. So come by and say hello. Okay, so I wanted to talk about summoners today and diversifying your summoners. Now, this thought came to me during the live stream that Darkest Night and I did yesterday, the Happy Ranked Rewards Update Day stream, but it was kind of just a fleeting thought, and I've had a little bit more time to sit with it, let the thoughts marinate, and thought I would make a video specifically focused on this because as a gold level player right now, which is where my deck naturally is, I am at this turning point where it's just like, okay, do I essentially double my investment to max out my deck and play at the highest levels, right? To be able to play at Diamond and Champion? Or do I start thinking about staying in gold and maybe kind of diversifying within gold? And what I mean by that is the biggest, most glaring issue, and probably the only knock that myself or anyone that I know has, it's the biggest gripe right now with the new Ranked Rewards update, and that is the focus spam that is happening, right? So you get one splinter per day, and you can see here, I'm thankful to have gotten water on my first day because I love playing Kelia in many situations, but it does make you somewhat predictable. And if you saw the live stream yesterday, Darkest Night was playing with Earth, and it's not his favorite. So it was definitely a struggle, especially on day one. Maybe things get easier over the next couple of days when you start to get into like the middle of the season. But overall, this is probably the biggest issue, which made me start to think about, well, should I, instead of leveling up, start leveling across? And so when I look at that, if I were to have Kelia, if I were to have my water splinter, I was looking at this and saying, well, would it be worthwhile, instead of leveling up a Kelia, maybe I start leveling up a Bortus or a Vera Salacia, right? Sorry, Vera doesn't get much love, and she's still not going to get any right now with me. But I was thinking about this across the board and saying, well, hey, for modern format, if I want to be competitive, this is something that I will need to think about, because you could, spam the same splinter the entire game or the entire day, but if you have different summoners, then your opponent may not know what to expect. Sure, a lot of the monsters will remain the same, but I would say that even with Chaos Legion and Chaos Legion rewards cards, right? So, for example, let's take a look at Water. And I know we're going to have to cut out these guys, but there's a lot of monsters here that have plenty of different abilities, and you can come at from very different perspectives, right? You can play a melee team with Bortus, right? You can play the melee team with Kelia, which is what I love, but you also have Jin O'Shaughnessy's here, who is a very powerful monster, or powerful magic monster is what I meant to say. And so there's a lot of different options just within that. I mean, of course, you can open this up to Untamed and Dice, but I'm talking about just focusing on kind of Chaos Legion forward, just because Untamed and Dice can tend to be a little bit more pricey. That being said, the prices of cards are going to be what they're going to be. And if they're not an issue for you, then maybe this is something that is worth considering. So as I go through this now and think through, like, okay, summoners, what would I want to have, right? I'm not going to get a Jotun, but maybe a Kid Yuff can come in real handy at some points, right? Especially if I'm going up against an armored team and I can play him with a bunch of really great, fire monsters, fire melee monsters, right? Or even someone like Lava Launcher, who's doing like 5 damage or 4 damage at the highest levels. So as I go through this, I was thinking through what is the best and most optimal way. Now, the truth is, or the bottom line is, I don't have an answer for you, right? So I'm kind of just sharing this as an idea because part of me has become comfortable with the idea of being a gold level player for the rest of my life. I look at the investment required to go from gold to diamond, and I think about just how steep the competition is going to be up there. And part of me says, well, I don't even have my gold level deck maxed. Why don't I focus on that? And then, if we are going to have Untamed and Dice in the modern format for at least the next 9 months, then maybe leveling up one of these other summoners and getting them to gold level, right? Or even silver level, who knows, right? Maybe I'll be able to play down if it just gives me this option to go back and forth. So there's not every splinter has great options. And if I go through, I mean, we can go through some of them. But so actually let's do this real quick. So Pyre is cool. Love the speed. I think Kid Yef, oddly enough, has a little bit more of a utility with a lot of the fire monsters, just due to the fact that you get some really heavy melee there. When it comes to water, like I said, Bortus is great. Vera, meh. And Bortus's price is down. I remember when this guy was like $20 during the $20 during like the craziness last year. Myler is still over $20 and definitely one of the best in the modern format. So, there is that. Lorna Shine, another one who's up there. Mother Kala, I don't know. I'm not feeling it, especially not for that price point. And then Death Summoners, this is where I think you could get really, really, really great. Like if I were to get a Death Splinter focus and I had each of these guys, the only thing I'm really susceptible to is melee, but then I can play someone like a Heartclaw with any of them, right? Assuming they're all leveled up. And then I have this option where it's just like, okay, if they're going to come at me, let me see what kind of deck that they're planning to play. And when they see that I have Magic Reflect, when I have -1 ranged, when I have -1 magic, they're not sure which way to go, right? Again, a lot of the monsters will remain the same, but as you get to the higher levels, specifically silver and gold, obviously diamond's on its own level, but I should say maybe specifically in gold, when you've unlocked a lot of other abilities, it changes the meta of the game so much so that the summoners are just a smaller piece of this whole thing. But they could, obviously the summoners are still huge, but you can kind of, what is it? Not cookie cutter, but just like plug and play different monsters for different scenarios with different abilities. When it comes to Dragon, I would say, Camilla's great, but that's a little bit pricier. Quix the Devious, I love. Drake of Arnak, Armor can come in really handy, but at this point, I don't know that I would use him as much. I think Bright and Bloom has a bright future, pun intended, just due to the fact that we get a ton of Earthquake rule sets, and I've been beaten by that many times with her on the other side. And then still no neutral summoners yet for everybody who's waiting for a neutral summoner. But the point that I was trying to make is that if you can diversify your summoners, then this whole splinter spam thing is going to be less of an issue for you. Now, that being said, I think there's been enough community outcry even before this launched that this may be a temporary problem. And when I say temporary, I do mean maybe a month or two at the very least. I think the team will want to see how things are performing over a couple of seasons before they make any major changes. Now, yes, Yaba did say during a recent town hall that he wants to add in a bunch of other focuses that are not Splinter related, but more monster ability related, and that would be great. But with modern and wild coming down the pipeline, that is something where, what do we want first? Do we want them to go in and spend time tweaking this, or do we want them to implement modern and wild? So, it's kind of up in the air. All I'm trying to say is that this could be a temporary problem, although temporary, as we know with the delays that happen in development, temporary could be a couple of months. So, this might be something that they want to ride out. People might complain about it, but at the end of the day, if everybody's still getting a decent amount of rewards and enjoying the game, then there's that. But as you saw in the video that I posted last night, just kind of like first day reactions, what we are seeing from the card rental market is a little insane, right? So a lot of these cards are disappearing off the marketplace. Now, one strategy, and I'm going to leave you with this, but this is definitely, for the folks here, I think, not that my channel has any kind of clout, but if everybody starts implementing this strategy, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that's thinking of it, right? So if everybody were to implement this strategy where it's just like, okay, you know what? I'm stuck with a certain splinter today. So for example, right, like let's say I'm stuck with a water splinter. What I could do is then go through and look at renting additional summoners. I got the monsters ready to go, but let's say I wanted to get a Bortus, a level 8 Bortus. Well, I'm playing in Diamond right now. Then, that's not a terrible thing to have to go for, level 8 Bortus. Now, granted, there are not many level 8 Bortuses out and about. And if you do get one, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny. But at the end of the day, is it worth it? I don't know. That's up to you. It could reduce costs where instead of buying, you rent, but then that plays into the whole supply-demand issue, and we will start to see these dry up, in my opinion, as we've seen already. So let's actually see here, level 8. There are 14 of them available, so not bad. If we were to go All right, so to the fire summoner. So look at this. There's no level 8 Tarsas available, but I could get a level 8 Kid Yev. Actually, this might be something I try out. So just sharing this with you guys as something to think about as you go along on your daily quests. This could give a lot of value, rental value, to some of the older cards. So, you know, I love it. I think this is great for the ecosystem, and I'm hopeful that we get to a point where, you know, where we start to really feel that crunch. I mean, players are going to become upset again, right? Just the same way people were upset back in October, November, when they're like, there's not enough cards, it's so expensive to play this game. And it's like, well, that's like, we're going to seesaw back and forth between both of those sides. The good thing is that if you do want to purchase summoners, right, any of these rare summoners from Chaos Legion, or even some of the others, right? Yeah, okay, like the top tier, you're going to have to pay a premium for those. But for the rest of them, like Contessa is actually quite, Contessa's actually quite comparative or competitive in price to the rest of the Chaos Legion summoners. Sure, you're going to pay maybe double, but at the end of the day, this is not over the $10, $15 mark that it was a couple of months ago. So something to think about. I'm going to leave this here with you guys, but I would love to hear your opinion on how you are thinking through to play the next 2, 4, maybe 6 seasons, so 1 to 3 months before we get an update to the rank reward system. If it comes sooner, even better. If it doesn't, then, I would want this to be hopefully a solid, time. I want this to be a Splinterland summer where I enjoy playing. I love playing. And even if I have to do the Splinter spam, I have ways of diversifying my attack that I don't become so predictable. So that's all I have for you in this video. I will catch you all in the next one, and I will see you around the game. Take care.